Hi, Laura.
Hello, Kino.
How are you?
I am fabulous. And as we said before recording, it's a choice.
Yeah. Just for the listeners on that, pre-recording, I just told Laura that it's so good to have a guest come on that's so full of smiles. And then we ended up concluding that that's my choice. We all have that choice each and every single day to wake up with a smile, to go throughout the day with a smile, to end off the day with a smile. It just makes life so much more easier to go through.
Yes. And we're not saying that it's all very easy and simple when we're confronted with challenges. But when you do place a smile upon your face, it changes the physiology of your body. And it doesn't erase what you're going through, but it can uplift you just a little bit. And then you can start to move from that point on. So I always
Yeah.
start with a smile.
And it also uplifts all the people that you encounter on a day to day basis, like they can just see so much positivity going on around you, and you just attract good people to your life, you know? Yeah, that's what I love. So, Laura, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to formally welcome Laura Brennan Ballet to the show. Just ballet, just like the dance, just like the dance. That's how she explained it to me. Laura, you are international best-selling author, speaker, coach, and you focus on a topic that can be so overwhelming for so many people, including myself, and I'm guaranteed for listeners as well. You focus on the science of empowerment, the science of success, the science of desire, the science of our mindset. And I want to quote this. Laura is driven by the life force that circulates within all universal connectivity. That alone is so overwhelming. But I'm sure you're going to explain that. So that's the introduction, basic introduction about you. But let's start first with getting to know you better. Like, where did it all start for Laura? What does your day one look like?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I like to acknowledge my brother, Christopher. He was the creator of the J3 equals E formula, and we may touch upon that in our show. And it inspired me to become a better version of myself. And I watched how he coached. He's a USA gymnastics coach and he's worked with Olympians. And I watched how the mindset worked around that. And I wanted to understand what if regular people like myself applied this mindset? How would that work? And this goes back many decades. And I just started to move into mindset advancement opportunity at a very young age, like in my teenage years. And both my brother and I talk about this often. There's something about the way our minds are wired that we look at human potential and we want to engage in it. And it was so important for me to then share that knowledge and insight that I began creating through the science of an empowered life with others. It isn't as challenging as you may think, though there are challenges to living an empowered life. But I personally apply this formula every day of my life. My husband, my kids, all my family, my friends, anyone I come into contact with. And I'm sure throughout the show, the listeners, as well as yourself, will grab maybe one or two principles or the idea around thought energy or energy fields, and they'll take something with them that will bring an awareness to how they decide to go through their day. It's a choice. And every day I choose to be neutral to as positive as I can every day.
Yeah. Thought energy. How would you define that? Thought energy. What does that mean?
Yes. So two answers to this. First, it's truly about becoming aware of how we think about thought. None of us do this. We're not taught how to do it. We're just used to feeling our way through everything. And when we feel our way through everything, we are very reactive to life. When we learn how to think about how we're thinking. It allows this moment of pause. Now we begin to respond to life rather than react to it. And thought energy is really becoming the architect of thought, your thought, whatever that looks like to you. It isn't something that I can say, think this way and life will unfold in this manner. It is an opportunity, an invitation for you to begin to understand that you have the potential to think differently in order to create a more positive, empowered life.
Yeah. But why do we as humans, and I can also talk from personal experience, why do we battle with that? You know, it's
Mhm,
hard and simple at the same time, but we don't give ourselves that opportunity to think
mhm.
differently. You
Yeah.
know, is that because our brains are wired, in a way to always think of the worst case scenario that can happen? Because that's my conclusion to it, because it takes the same amount of energy, but I'm so more focused on what can go wrong than what can go right.
And that's such an empowered statement. You will have an awareness that it's the same energy, whether you're placing it into the struggle or you're placing it into the resolve. It's just a mind shift, it's a thought shift. Think of yourself as, and everyone has a different description, but you can be an architect, an engineer, a designer. You have the ability to redesign those patterns that keep you locked into that thought process. Like you just said, for most of us, it is so more familiar to align with the drama and the chaos, the guilt, the shame, the negativity of all of what we've been through. It's just easier. It's
Yeah.
because it's reactive, it's emotional. We're thinking we don't like what that person did to us. There's an emotion, then there's a whole cellular energy that's going on. But if you can learn how to go into the brain mind matrix and create what science calls neuronal pathways, those are just new paths, new sparks of information, new thought processes. Now we can say, yeah, somebody hurt me and
Yeah.
I don't like that. However, it will not define my choices going forward. I will now take that feeling, I will use thought energy to recalibrate it so that I feel healthier, stronger, and more confident going forward. Now you're moving from a place of authority of yourself rather than being at the influence of someone else's pattern that they never healed.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure in your life, you've also experienced all those negative emotions and you had your own personal transformation in order to now educate other people on that formula which you mentioned. You know, it's not like, sometimes people may think, oh, here's Laura Aquino talking about this, making it sound so easy, but they don't understand. But you would understand because you've been there before in order to be where you are now.
Yeah, I can authenticate what I'm speaking of because I've gone through it. And I get this often when I meet people. They'll see the outside product and they'll just assume, which we all do, oh, look at that person. They look a certain way, they live in a certain house, they drive a certain car, they were educated over there, they seem to have it all together. But if we were to meet at a party or a backyard barbecue and we were talking outside of the context of this and we started to become friends, you would then know, oh, Laura has traveled a very challenging path. That was the driver for her to search out this information and create the science behind an empowered life. She understood that I can stay in that state of mind, or I can change and create a better life. And it isn't that it's that simple, but it is. We've trained our mind to think that shift, that change, that growth has to be challenging, difficult. It has to take us weeks, months, or years. It truly doesn't. We won't go into the quantum world of thinking at the moment, but quantum will let you know everything can change like that. Everything. It's our perception behind the questioning of the change that becomes a limiting belief. But if I told you you have the ability and potential to think as if you've already arrived to that next growth stage, you can do it. But your mind is already telling you, no, I can't. I can't do it that fast. I have to go through, I have to do therapy or counseling or whatever it may be, but you can. And it is much more doable than we allow ourselves to believe.
You know, it's like when you were mentioning, how easy it is to focus on the drama. We also have to take into consideration all the material that we consume, the external material. Mainstream media, all the negativity that happens around the world. The world is driven by fear because that's what makes all these big corporate companies billions each and every single year. So that also psychologically in the subconscious, plays on one's mind to say, okay, it's better for me just to rather focus on the drama, because you're just programmed that way.
Yes. And that's so beautifully stated again, Kino. We are programmed. And if you start talking about data, information from outside influences, social media, politics, academia, right? It enters into the mind brain matrix and then it quickly travels into the emotional cortex of who we are because we're emotional creatures. It's a beautiful aspect, right, of being human. However, between the input of outside influence, this is the beauty and the power of the science of empowerment. It gives you a moment to stop and ask, what is that information? Is it having positive or negative effect on my mind, on my health, on my well-being? No, it isn't. Now I can exercise awareness into how can I change that incoming energy, mostly negative? How can I recalibrate it to neutral and now create a positive life? And so it becomes a skill where outside information is everywhere. There's no escaping it. Whether you choose, even if you don't watch the news, even if you homeschool your children, even if you go between your home and your place of worship, you will be affected by all energy that is outside of those places. Your neighbors, right? The laws that you have to abide by. When you go grocery shopping, it doesn't matter how you want to look at it. Energy is coming at us. You have the ability to put up boundaries, shields, or mindset development skills so that when the information is coming at you, you become very, very quick on blocking it. You start to realize negative, not healthy for me, not interested any longer. I've healed that. I've grown past that. That no longer serves my highest and best self. Therefore, I do not allow it to enter in. And it really is that simple.
You got to ask yourself, the questions, as you mentioned, if I am frustrated in this present moment in time, like write on like, why am I frustrated? What benefit is it bringing me to be frustrated right now? I can choose to rather be, in more clarity, be more at peace. I also, want to mention, sometimes we can grow up in a toxic environment that can make it hard as well, like once again, personal experience, my external family. I felt at a point in my life that they were extremely toxic for me, including my own siblings. And then I made the decision to step away from them because it wasn't serving me being in their company because it was a toxic environment. And then I was also, eventually becoming more and more like them. then it becomes like this generational curse, but you have to make that decision, and it's not always easy to step away from people that you've known your whole life, can even be friends. I've stepped away from friends a long time ago when I knew, look, this is not bringing me any benefit because I'm around negativity all the time. So make
And
that choice.
it is okay to ask yourself, that immediate family and then the family that we choose, friendships, our work environment, etc. It is our birthright to question, is this environment conducive to me achieving my highest and best self while I'm here, right? While we're in physicality, while we are going through the human condition, do these factors, right, bring positivity into my life? Do they empower my mindset, my heart centeredness? Do they spark my soul, my spirit, my consciousness to become better than I was the day before? And we're so like trained from early on to be accepting of things that are not appropriate and not correct. And then if we question a mother, a father, a guardian, a sibling, and we see that strife that happens all between us, to break free from that, yes, it certainly is a very challenging task. However, when it comes to self-preservation and asking yourself at the very end of my life, when I look back, will I regret staying connected into that environment, or will I have peace in my soul that I released myself from that and I experienced a much healthier life? And it takes courage.
Yeah.
It takes courage to walk away from the familiar, but the familiar does not help us grow.
Don't get comfortable
Never.
wherever you are in life.
Never. You
you
can be
know
comfortable in the moments of being comfortable. Beautiful dinner, right? Watching a sunset, falling in love, all of the human experiences that we cherish. But we know the difference when we've gotten very comfortable in an environment that is truly not good for us. And that's where maybe getting a little curious, right? What can I look for that's past this particular relationship? How can I garner a bit of courage to begin to just move away from it? So maybe you don't rip the Band-Aid off, as my grandmother used to do, but you take it a little bit at a time until you feel like you can take that last bit off. Everyone has a very unique way of moving through their personal experiences, but I just want to really drive into the listening audience. You have far more potential to do greater things than you've ever imagined. And if you are a bit scared or anxious, or it causes you a bit of stress, I would invite you to suspend all of that emotion and go into this newfound aspect of yourself as a lion or a lioness. Fear
Yes,
nothing and go for it. You won't regret it.
that is so well said. So well said. And I'm sure, like, another guarantee, there's so many people who resonate with what you're saying, but they're also so scared of getting judged. Oh, if I do this, then my mother or my father is going to say something, because it's just how it is. Because in some families, we brought up by the limited beliefs of our family and friends, you know so because that was their limits, now for me subconsciously, okay, that's also my limit. I can't go higher than that. It's impossible. If they couldn't do it, how can I do it? And then it's like, boom, stop. And I'm glad you also mentioned, the workplace. How many people stay in a job or stick around in a company that is so toxic with negative people all the time, but they're so scared, they're so scared to take that jump, that leap of faith. Let me just
And I
leave and trust.
and I I think it's so important when we are confronted with that sense of, and again, it may be fear, insecurity, unworthiness, self doubt, all of the human traits that we all have experienced. That is where the magic or the alchemy of creating an empowered life is ignited. It's in those moments that you just say, I'm out. I am worthy of so much more. I don't know how I'm going to arrive to that. I don't know the path before me, but I know this is not it where I am. And what I loved what you said about the impact of the limiting beliefs that come from the generations before us. I write about this in The Science of Empowerment. And when I coach my clients, always this comes up. What our parents and grandparents did, or the people that were our guardians, and that could be school and faith and all of that, they did the best they could, even though some of them did some really bad things. They did the best they could with what they were equipped with. If you look at it as tiers of energy, our great grandparents, look what they came from. Then look at our parents, and they actually up-leveled a little bit. Maybe fundamental truths hung in there, values, beliefs, limited thinking, but they up-leveled a little bit. Now look at where you are compared to when you were just a baby and where your parents were. I think if we can release the blame or the shame, the guilt, the holding others accountable for what didn't go quite correctly, and take on that full accountability for what we can now do differently. Again, this is the science behind creating an empowered life. You release the energy that is in contract with what doesn't work. You renegotiate with that higher part of you, that little gut instinct in there that is calling for more. And you be brave and you go for it.
Yeah. And I mean, that calling is within all of us. It's just for us to listen to it. We're all here for a reason. There's a purpose behind our lives. But we need to listen to that internal voice. Whatever you want to label that internal voice, whether you want to label it God talking to you, whether you want to label it my ancestors talking to you, whoever. But it's so important to listen to that internal voice.
And I do believe it's all of that. God energy is the highest energy, period. Now there's different ways of looking at that energy. What does that mean to different people? Or you can go into universal energy, right? More spiritual, more maybe ethereal based, right? And you maybe are understanding that there's set principles and laws that happen within the universal energy. You can look at it as consciousness awareness. Again, that internal voice that somehow is always calling to us to become more than what we've settled for. So I don't think that there's a set way. It's whatever works for you. I have clients that are very religious, very faithful. I have clients that move in the magic of the universe. I have clients that aren't sure. They don't know what to believe in anymore, right? Because of how they were raised, the things that went wrong in their life, the way society is. I think aligning with higher energy and fill that in, however that feels right for your heart, and move in that direction. It will never lead you wrong because it is that part of your higher knowing that is directing you to a change that will benefit you in your life.
Yeah. What caught my attention with what you just said is having clients that are religious. Because from my point of view, all that you practice is more spirituality. And there's this huge difference between being religious and being being a spiritual person. So is that difficult for you when it comes to coaching? Because now it's what Laura is saying versus what doctrine is saying.
No, because I don't see the difference.
Right.
God energy is spiritual
But
energy.
do they ever bring up, like, you may say something, but now their priest is saying, something different on how to go about it?
No, because I don't go into religious philosophy. When we talk about creating an empowered life, let's say you came to me and you're very religious, you will use and apply your relationship with God to help support you in creating that empowered life. No
Yeah.
different than someone else may use astrology. I'm just using that as an example. I have friends in the quantum field. One of my brother's dearest friends is a Harvard professor, quantum studies. They can sometimes use mathematical or geometric philosophies to look at the sciences behind things. All of it stems from this understanding of self. Do I want to achieve the highest and best self I can while I'm in physicality, i.e., the human experience? Or do I want to settle for what is done to me at the directive of someone else? If you get there through God, if you get there, you can worship a butterfly. It does not matter to me. If you are aware that you are not fully engaged in your brilliance, your genius, now we start to move into what are you willing to do about it? What is your accountability for that shift? Critical thinking, this is where we suspend emotionality for a moment. We think with clear, rational thought energy. Now we go into the fifth principle, energy. It's in everything. Energy is in everything. We are energy beings. We are actually energy in motion, in action, or we are energy in pattern or stagnation. So, however, my clients or the listeners, they know where they are connected and where it benefits and supports and inspires them. And they know where they're connected that drains that inspiration, that stops the ignition into something of furtherance. Everyone knows that. And however you choose to get there, it's important, but it isn't a marker against or for an empowered life. It will add
Yeah.
to it if it's already a strong belief. And if it's a wavering belief, then maybe it doesn't hold steady and you start to bring in new perspective and you start to look at the world in a different way. Because I have a client, she's 72 years old. When I started coaching with her, she has a lot of childhood trauma
Yeah.
and didn't talk to siblings for decades. She first read the book and then she came in coaching. Her entire life has changed. And she was a God-fearing woman from her childhood. It did not bring her the peace or the resolve, did not change her faith, but it was she allowed herself to open up to just a new perspective of how she can apply her faith with a new understanding of her own power, not giving it all away and using that as the reason for what has happened. Understanding that things happened and I can create the shift now. So hopefully
Yeah.
that makes sense a little bit.
Yeah, no, it did. I mean, when you said, your relationship with God, that is so important. Not your relationship to understand, you can have a direct relationship with God.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned about the lady who's 72 years old, wow. There's
Yeah.
anything that I want to do with, my podcast network, which involves 3 podcasts at the moment, is to, eliminate people getting to that age, with so much trauma and so much regret when you have the ability to sort it out now and fix it now. I keep bringing up like the divorce rates, in South Africa and around the world, because we rush into these marriages, but we rush into these marriages with so much trauma that it ends up affecting our marriage along the way, and then it ends up in divorce. And I mean, this is realistic. I see it happening all the time.
Yeah, this is a deep conversation. Just to touch upon it, when you have two individuals coming together and literally pulling the Titanic into the relationship, which is what we all do, there's no way. We're both weighted so far underwater. It's so important to take time in your life, figure out your value system, explore your personal potential, discover that part of you that is so solid and so strong that it's unwavering. Then you can present yourself to the world and to a very specific person. Now you will either reflect back to you that strength or their weakness, but not in a negative, just the vulnerable weakness, the vulnerable parts that are unhealed will start to swell up. And then you either can remain steady and strong and help that person along, or you leave because you realize this person is not in that position to match what I've already gone through. And it's not a judgment at all. It's an awareness. And again, it's your birthright to own that awareness and make that decision for yourself. It is not a selfish decision to say no to people and environments that will create a backward draw on you. We are meant to go forward. So when two people, I have two young daughters, I talk about this all the time with them because they're in relationships at young ages. Do you reflect happiness, safety, curiosity, bravery in one another? Or is it a constant combative energy like field? You're nitpicking, you're reacting, you're uncomfortable, you're unsettled, you're scratching and crawling for something from them. I need you to love me because I have too many holes in me. Please fill everything up for me. Be everything that I need. No one will ever fill that. You have to become as whole as humanly possible in your early 20s and understand that that discovery is going to take a long time. It's why I ask people, young couples, why are you getting married? Why are you talking about having 3 kids at 27? You don't even have a house or a job, or you don't even know who you believe in, what you believe in. You're angry against each other. You believe in that political person. You believe in that religion. You believe in homeschool. You believe in public. It's because we as humans are searching for the feelings that will make us feel better. When you go into the actual human work of being the best version that you can be, it's a whole different ballgame. You start to release other people from their duty to how they're supposed to show up, so you feel better about yourself. This is you. And then if you're lucky, you're able to express that to the other person in your own way. And they are like, I get that. So let's work on ourselves together. Now you've got a beautiful relationship. Now you've had an opportunity and a chance for longevity and friendship and companionship, because that's what matters. The chemistry, the sexual chemistry, all the youngness, that's fleeting, especially in this day and age. People hit 30 and they hit a wall already.
Yeah. Work on ourselves together and heal together.
Yes.
You know?
It's a very individual exploration, but it is a journey that you can discover while you're loving one another. Let's say you and I met and we enjoy these 5 things about one another, but there's 3 things that are just non-negotiable. I can't go there. Then you may say, I hear you. That's been an issue for me my whole life. I'm willing to work on that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
100%.
And it
Yeah.
changes everything. But you have to, not that you have to, it will benefit you to arrive to this point within yourself of knowing that you were born. I'm going to say it again. You were born for something different than what you have presently settled for.
Settled. I love that. I love that. I've got a friend, I ran into him last week, Saturday, and we had a chat. And he's a staunch Muslim, but he has so much wisdom, like anyone within my circle, it's different cultural backgrounds, different religions, but we know how to be human first. And we were having a conversation about relationships, and he's like, Kino, let me tell you something about the world as it is right now. The youngsters of today are not communicating with each other any longer. That's the problem. We meet someone, we're not communicating first, we're not talking. It's like meeting a girl or boy at a nightclub. You want to get to all the fun stuff, in a relationship, but we're not communicating. So, of course, the result is going to be bad. We haven't communicated first, we haven't even gotten to know each other yet.
No.
And
And
that's what's happening.
it reminds me, and I love to share this story. We were at my cousin's home celebrating Thanksgiving many years ago. And all the grown-ups were in the grown-up dining room, and all the kids were in the big kitchen table. And we're all laughing and talking and communicating and moving through. And all of a sudden I said, shh, listen, there was not one peep out of a table of like 12 kids. So I said, hold on. I go out into the kitchen and they're all on their cell phones. So I went up and I grabbed each one politely, and they're all looking at me. Oh, Auntie Lola. I said, hold up. I took the cell phones and I said, talk to one another. Do you know within 15, 20 minutes, laughter, a couple of the girls over here, a couple of the cousins over. This is, I work with youth. I love youth. It's a driving force. It's one of my passionate missions is to really begin to shift the mindset of where they are. I don't even go into the vernacular of social media and the hippocampus, the size of our brain, and what the marketing teams out in Silicon Valley, what they've done to our kids, China, what it's doing with TikTok. I don't even go there. The bottom line is to be able to look at our youth and let them know it's okay. I've got you. We will figure this out together. My girls, when we used to get into the car for family day on Sunday, movie, shopping, dinner, they would be on the phone, and same thing. They'd get in, I'd take the phone away. There were really rough times with them. I mean, they would cry, they would react. I'm taking away their lifeblood, right?
Yeah.
I said, it's okay, you'll survive, you'll deal with it. And
Yeah.
we talk about it now as they're older, and they now can look back and be like, I can't believe I was that addicted. And I missed time with my family because I was so addicted to that. It is definitely a challenge for those of us that are older or in leadership positions to find ways that are calm and compassionate to reach our youth. But it is very true that there is no communication. I'll even say, and my kids grow up in my home. They know this. I'll even say, oh, they'll say, well, I talked with grandma, and I said, did you speak with her? Or did you text her? Well, we text. I said, no, that's not talking. Call her now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I walk out the door. And
Yeah.
it's something that I never grew up with, right? A little bit older generation. And it has to change. It needs to shift because the youth does not know how to handle life's challenges anymore.
100%.
And I,
100%.
yeah,
They don't. They don't. This has been mentioned so many times on the show. You know, the generation of today, because they're so addicted to the phone, and what's going on social media and comparing themselves and having certain expectations. And because it doesn't work out for them, how it worked out to some millionaire kid, if he's a millionaire, we
yes,
don't know. Social media is saying, okay, that kid is a millionaire driving a Ferrari. We don't know if it's true or not. And because of that expectations now, I'm feeling so depressed, and then anxiety and then depression kicks in, for the youngsters. Then they finish school and they just don't know how to handle the real world. They don't know how to handle life without their parents. They don't even know how to do the basics of being an independent person in this world. The moment they get knocked out once, it's tears. I mean,
yes,
for us, I'm a millennial, but I mean, I get knocked down, I get back up. You
yeah.
know, they don't know how to get back up. I mean, I'm glad that I grew up in the generation I did, where I could chill on the street with my friends. Yeah, there were phones throughout that period, but social media wasn't in the game at that time, or it wasn't so big as it is now. But I mean, our phones were in our pockets. The only time we really took out the phone if another friend was calling to us, yo, guys, where you at? I'm coming to check you out
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You know, like, I mean, wow.
And what I find quite interesting too is so many of the younger parents are not equipped to support and equip their children, because
Yeah,
there was that time frame where a lot of, especially moms, and I'm a mom, they wanted to be friends with their kids and be like the cool mom. I remember telling my girls, and my husband will attest to this, I am not your friend. I am your mother. I will be your friend around the age of 25. We'll start to formulate a friendship,
yeah,
maybe, depending on how you move through the rest of your high school and college years. And do you know, my eldest daughter at 25, we have a friendship now. We have a
nice.
real friendship. And my younger one, 21, we're working on developing, but I said, you still have time. You don't
Yeah,
have enough experience and you haven't acquired the skill set in order to warrant my friendship. And again, when I speak, it isn't a selfish way of communicating these messages out to the world. It is to show strength and resolve that as a parent, you must steady the ship or you will all capsize. It's that simple. If you let youth direct the flow of energy, and we see it happening all over the world, we're in trouble. We
yeah,
are in trouble, and we really are. When we look at a graduating class of 2025, how many of those children are really going to rise to the occasion to be true leaders in the world, whether it's in our church or in our political arena, whether it's in academia? Where are those leaders right now? Because now is when they're being forged into that mindset. I don't see a lot of them. And, I work with my local community. I'm starting to get involved even more because, whew, it's, it's a bit
they too
challenging.
trapped.
Yeah.
They are really too trapped. They're
They
not going
are.
to have people's abilities, to take on those positions in the future to come. And for me, it's built by design. It's
Oh, it's
built
all
by
by
design.
design. All
Yeah,
by
eh?
design.
We need
Yeah.
to keep them as trapped as possible so they don't even think about getting themselves involved in these leadership positions. What you just mentioned is also solid advice for parents out there. The saddest thing for me is walking into a household during dinner time and also the parents are glued to the phone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're sitting together at the table or on a couch, but they're glued on the phone. They're not even having a conversation with each other. Hey, how was school today? How was work today? What did you get up to? Just simple questions about the day.
That's it.
Getting to know each other. They're so lost.
My 21-year-old still lives at home and she's in university. I ask her every day, how was your school experience? Any great like teachings? Did you gain any new knowledge? Did somebody say something that you disagreed with? Would you like to discuss that? No, mama, I'm good. I'm fine. Or we have a conversation. She has a very steady boyfriend. Is he kind to you today? Did you have a good time? Did you enjoy your experience with him yesterday? How are you feeling? Do you need me for anything? And that is every single day. And as a parent, and I have a lot going on, but it is my position as her guardian to make sure I connect with her. Now, she may not want to connect with me. That's okay. That's her learning curve. But she knows every day I reach out. Every night before I come up to the stairs, I love you, JD. Love you too.
Nice.
Even if,
Nice.
even if there's issues, she knows I've got you. And I think
Yeah.
again, there's a separation between moving too far in and be again trying to become the friend. Even my kids, oh, can I borrow this? Can I wear that? I said no. You have your own style, your own clothes, maybe down the road. But it may seem trivial, but these very important boundaries set up future boundaries for our children.
Yeah.
And if you just let them kind of run wild with everything, they have merged into this very entitled energy that we see all over TV, right? And we know this is going on here in New York City. We have a movement where the younger generation wants free everything.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be free now. And those of us who work very hard to have what we have are like, free? No, nothing is going to be free. Love is free, communication is free, right? Sunset, sunrise, we can get all philosophical here. But if you have to stock a grocery store, a farmer has to seed and water and till and pluck and put it on a truck and then the gas. And I've tried to explain this to youth. Where do you think it comes from? A cute little break in the conversation here. When we moved from our small apartment into our home as a family, my kids did not see what was going on. They saw the house all a shambles. Then they came in and their bedrooms were all put together for them. The house was a home. My daughter thought that somebody comes in and does that for you. No con. I said, where do you think your pops and your mama have been all this time when you're over at grandma's? But it makes you realize that you have to communicate to them the realities of life. That doesn't mean that they cannot create new reality. It doesn't mean that they cannot be these innovators, these visionaries, and find new ways for the human condition to evolve. But you have to have some steady footing on the realness of life in order to then create the safe space to become more. And I think that's what we're missing in a lot of areas.
I agree with you. I got a word for what you just said, entitlement.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
I just was talking
I'm
to a
entitled.
group. My daughter, who grows up in the science of empowerment orbit, the other day we were talking, had a funny conversation, and she goes, why can't I just be a Nepo baby? And so I looked at her and I said, why can't I just be a Nepo baby? And I put it right back onto her.
Yeah, yeah,
I said, carry on and have a good day. It isn't the way. And I said, even if you'd be miserable. The
yeah.
other set of issues that come with that level of entitlement would bury you. And that's part of the unawareness to what's going on. We're seeding this youth with this delusion of make believe. And when they can't achieve it, it hits them so personally that they feel less than what they truly are. And so I really want parents or any youth leader that's listening, remind our youth every chance you get, you are important. You are magical. You are genius. You are beautiful. You are special. You are unique. Whatever that is, have fun. Find it. Look for it. Don't expect it. It will never happen if you expect it.
Wow. Wow. Just brilliance. That's such solid advice. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Uh, let's talk about now the science of empowerment, your book. Is there anything over and above to what you have said from the time we started the show?
No, I think what's really beautiful about the book is it moves into the J3 equals E formula, and very quickly, so people understand what that is. It's an acronym. J stands for Jekyll. Those are four of the most important people in my brother's life. Someone that two of his best friends, someone that did his program, the very first client he had, his relationship with my cousin, that's the K, and L for Jekyll, Jekl. I'm the L, Laura. And then there's a halo above and below, and that represents our parents. So that Jekyll formula consists of 5 principles. And then when you move into the 3, that's negative, positive, neutral. And then you go into equals E. So when you look at the 5 Jekyll principles, you move into the power seat of choice of energy, negative, positive, neutral. Which one are you? Now we begin to create an empowered life. And I will share happily with the audience. The 5 principles are, so everyone right now, think of a present challenge that you have. Number 1, first principle, awareness. I want you to hone in on the awareness of that challenge. Second principle, willingness. What are you willing to do about that awareness to that challenge? Principle number 3, accountability. No outside blame allowed anymore. You bring in self-accountability, full on force, in power accountability. Now we go into principle number 4, critical thinking. This is where we suspend all the doubt, all the fear, all the angst, anxiety, blame, shame, guilt, all the emotionality for a moment. And we begin to think with a higher level of intelligence. Critical thinking is rational without input that creates this emotional charge. 5th principle, energy. This is where everything exists from. And again, ask yourself, what am I aware of? What am I willing to do? What is my accountability? I'm going to think with a critical thought process. Energy, negative, positive, neutral. You've just neutralized the negativity through the awareness, willingness, and accountability. You've neutralized the emotional reaction. Critical thinking supports response rather than reaction. Energy, I'm now neutral. Now I can go from neutral to positive much more readily than negative, right?
Yeah.
To neutral.
Yeah.
Neutrality is a superpower. Focus on neutrality. It will start to release all negativity and bring you to this power seat of neutrality. Now you can start to have more positive thought energy, more positive response, more intellectual interaction with life itself. Now this formula really equals empowered, empowerment, empowering your life.
Wow.
And that's at the foundation and throughout all the book. So it's not an easy breezy read. It's got complexities and depth, but it is a book that will blow you wide open so you remember you. There's nothing about me in the book. This is a book where when you begin to read it, it is you reading and remembering to that higher part of yourself that is ready for its next level of greatness, of brilliance, of potential.
Nice. There's one word that stands out for me. Okay, besides, empowerment, but like science, because I always say like the whole world is run by science, formulas, and a whole lot of psychology. It's how it's run. And now you providing the science on how people can honestly live their best lives.
And,
Yeah,
and
for yourself.
And remember, if Science doesn't feel comfortable to you at the minute. It's okay. This doesn't mean the science in a complicated way. Science in true origin is alchemy. Alchemy could be magic. And I don't mean magic like woo-woo magic. I mean magic as in formulaic, right? Equations, mathematic, engineer, design, architecture, whatever feels right for you. But you have the ability to enter in new information into the mind and begin to recalibrate the behavior so that you can shift patterns, you can heal habits, and you can actually elevate your behaviors so that you are not only feeling and thinking empowered, but you are empowerment in action every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. 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 Definitely a book to put onto the list. It's not a book just to read and put it on the shelf and that's it, forget about it. It's a book to actually read, even for a second, third time and actually, put it into practice in your life, you know.
I've had so many clients, yeah, and they've read it so many times, or they've read it 2, 3 times, and each time they pick it up, it's a whole new book to them because they've grown, they've advanced, they've evolved, they've elevated from the book. That's how the coaching business started. I never wrote the book to become a coach. I had readership all over the world that started emailing me via my website. Can you coach me? I read this chapter. It affected me greatly. I've read the book. I've healed relationships. And I mean, there's been marriages that are thriving now. I spoke at suicide prevention events. So it is a book. It's $20 on Amazon. It will shift your mindset. It will elevate and stimulate and ignite such growth in the person that reads it. You will not be disappointed. It is a master class in personal potential, and everyone can reach out to me. You can go to my website and there's an area to email me. I answer everything personally, not my team.
And there is also a Kindle version available of the book.
And the Kindle version is like $3. I put it down. There's no excuse. I need a book in hand. I have to read and take notes and write. Even I read my book over and over. I keep getting more so I can be more for my clients. When I speak on podcasts to the listening audience, there's always something new that comes out of that book because as I evolve, the message evolves. And so, yes, the Kindle book, I don't even know. It's $2.99 or $1.99. I called Amazon. I said, put it down. Once I hit an international best-selling book, I'm like, I want so many people to have it. So it's out there. Yeah.
I'm also a physical book reader. Like I love to also have, a physical book in my hand. But, why I always ask each author that question is because, many people can't afford, to get the physical book plus shipping, from Amazon. So Kindle, of course, makes it much more easier. To conclude, but I mean, you mentioned it yourself, suicide prevention. How has your work impacted suicide prevention, mental illness, with what you coach?
Yeah. It allows someone that is in the structure of struggling to know that there are options and options outside of what they've been used to. So mental health, mental wellness, mental well-being, we all know is at the top of the human condition right now. We all have challenges around this on some level in some way. So what I love about how the science of empowerment has helped that particular organization from time to time when I'm asked to speak or I've been asked to maybe coach privately someone is that there's a way to explain that you are energy. You are living, breathing, thriving. And what got you to this place does not have to hold you into that place. You have the ability to just move ever so slightly, and then we'll begin again. and ever so slightly, and then we'll begin again. And that seems to resonate with their heart and this ability to, wow, I really don't have to stay here. Maybe I'm not sure how to get out of it, but with my coach, I know we're going to figure it out. And it's a very gentle process.
Yeah, energy. You know, you the second author in the last week. That author was last week Thursday. Also said, something very similar to what you said. I mean, he specializes in hypnotherapy and
Yeah.
anxiety, and he's like, look, anxiety is not a mental illness; it's energy. You choose whether you want to set up camp or let it just pass by.
That's
You know.
so true. And for some reason, our brains, again, they're wired, they're crisscrossed, thinking, I don't have a choice. What do you mean I can choose? What do you mean I'm not stuck? But we're not. And this is the key to creating an empowered life. Recognize, hone in on that awareness. You are not fixed. Energy cannot be fixed. It cannot, unless we condense it into a desk or a chair or a non-human, right, item. You cannot be fixed. It is the delusion in our brain, and that's not a negative thing. We think we're fixed. Well, I was abused, therefore I'm a victim and I will ride that wave all the way through. No, jump off, swim. I don't care. Do anything. Get off that ride. Nothing is fixed. You are energy in motion consistently. And there's science, there's faith, there's religion, there's consciousness, there's spirit. Every category has so much knowledge and information to help people understand that. In our sleep state, what the body does alone is amazing. When we're like off somewhere else, our dream state, where are we there? Right? We're
Yeah.
constantly in motion. So nothing is fixed. It's only the perception and perspective that you've placed upon that idea. So change your perspective, expand on your perception, and begin to apply the 5 principles. Select neutrality at every intersection of your life and begin to think with thought energy. How can I turn this into a positive? And now you've changed that experience for the better for everyone involved. Now you're creating an empowered life.
Yeah, wow. I'm still having that LOL moment in my head, thinking about how many people just love to ride that wave. I'm
Yeah.
a victim. You know? All the
No,
way till they're 78 years old, I'm riding this wave.
72. No longer.
You know?
No
Well, yeah,
longer.
this has been so impactful. Wow. I mean, the thing is about mental illness is just the narrative of
Yes.
what it's always, been like for people forever and ever. You have a problem, whether it was your parents that told you it or whether it was the doctors that told you it, you have a problem. And the only cure is medication for the rest of your life. You just need to learn to manage it. Doesn't really fix the root of the problem, but all that you have provided on the show, your work, your book, gets to the root of those issues, those problems, and you
And
can make choice.
yes, and there are mental health issues that truly need very skilled professionals that understand that there is, right? Because there could be schizophrenia, there could be bipolar, there could be hormonal and chemical shifts in the body that are creating the emotions to be in flux. Everybody, we know this, right? Always speak with your practitioners, your doctors, but don't be so quick to just jump on the first, diagnosis, the first, bottles of pills. Keep searching out and find ways to connect with things that calm you down. The beach, the moonlight, a sunrise, your feet in the grass, a walk, a hike, having a cup of tea, getting together with a friend. Therapy and healing has many, many doorways. and keep opening those doors until you find what resonates with you.
Yeah. It's like we need to integrate, which is what, the hypnotherapist who came onto the show last week, Thursday, also said. He says he doesn't want to bash traditional therapy, but he says what he's seeing now is therapists are now also using his work. And that's what we need to happen. That integration needs to happen. So
Beautiful.
before a GP, says, okay, look, you have anxiety. This is what I'm diagnosing you with, and this is what you're going to be suffering with for the remainder of your life. How about, reading Laura's book first, integrating that with his or her work, and then giving a proper evaluation. There's other options on the table. Why don't you practice this formula that was done by this expert in this field?
Right. And again, we're so kind of moved into this contract of thinking, right? We re-sign these contracts with ourselves. Someone said something to me and it stuck. Somebody called me a name and I became it. Someone said I didn't have what it takes to make it. Therefore, I didn't try. All of those experiences are mirrors, the reflective markers for that part of you to rise up and say, oh, no, you don't. You do not dim my light. You do not step in my way. You are but a mere obstacle that I can now pick up and place over there, and I will carry onward. Do not let anyone have directive over you. It's not the way it's supposed to be. It's okay to acknowledge the pain and the trauma and the suffering. It is okay to hold other people accountable, but not at your detriment. Honor our past, but the moment and our future are what's going to really allow you to experience your highest and best self and really create a life that when you are a little old lady and a little old man, you will look back and say, yeah, maybe I got knocked around a little bit. But one day I listened to this podcast, I read a book, I became coachable, and everything shifted in that moment. And it's just been one beautiful ride from then on.
Wow. What a way to conclude. What a way to conclude. Laura, where can listeners find you online?
Everywhere. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. There's a Science of Empowerment business page. But please visit the website, www.thescienceofempowerment.com. There is a copious amount of knowledge and insight and education, all free. There's blogs, there's a media page with podcasts. This will be on there as well. It's you kick back with a cup of tea or a coffee or some sparkling water and just fill your mind with new possibilities, new language, new insights, your higher self, your consciousness, that beautiful, beautiful part of you that's in there that maybe somebody buried down has an opportunity to come up once it starts to see itself somewhere else. So all social media. I'm not big on social media. I don't have a lot of followers, but my kids are like, enough. We're putting you on TikTok. You're getting everywhere. So I'm like, go for it. I'm also creating an absolute beautiful powerhouse of a course that will be very affordable for everyone. And it's the same but different. It's really quite remarkable on that. And then Amazon, you can get your very, very affordable Kindle version. Or if you want to hold the book in your hand, go to Amazon and look for The Science of Empowerment, Laura Brennan Ballet. And you can even read the reviews and you'll get a really good vibe for the readership and how they feel about the book.
I mean, just by listening to you throughout this conversation is enough motivation. I was just thinking to myself when we were talking about, entitlement and, the youngsters of today wanting stuff for free. The year's material that you can get for free that's actually going to bring value to your life.
Yeah.
So if you're still looking for free, head over to the website and grab this.
Yes.
Thank you. Laura, thank you so much. I will definitely share the links, to your I wouldn't say social media because you're not too active, but definitely where people can, really engage with you more, which is your
Yeah, and I
website.
am on there. I've got a great Facebook and social media, my Instagram, all of them they're wonderful. I haven't really focused on bringing, I mean, I've got, almost 4,000, in my community and LinkedIn and stuff. It's just, I'm starting to do that, writing the book, creating the course, coaching. It's a lot of creative energy. But I'm starting to move around a little bit. So
Or
it's
just, yeah, outsource the whole division to your children. Yeah, handle it. Laura, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the show and keep
thank you. It was an
doing
honor.
what you're doing. Like, I appreciate you so much and all you are doing for humanity. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
All the best moving forward. And who knows what the future holds? We may just chat again soon.
I'd love that.
Yeah. Okay, Laura, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.